various folks within the ensemble here come up on stage and offer some remembrances of Peggy Brennan. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to the first speaker, and I believe it's this gentleman right here. Yes, sir.
It is. You just talk loud into it.
Okay. My name's Eric. I met Peg when I was 16 years old in Port Washington, New York, on Long Island. And I apologize to anyone who's already heard this story, and I've already told this story a few times today. But for anyone who hasn't, I will retell this tale. In 1965, 1966, we were living, my family had moved to Port Washington, and I felt very out of place. I had come from rural Ohio, and the only group that I felt comfortable with were the proto-hippies and freaks in Port Washington, and there weren't very many of us. But Peg was a central magnet for this group. And we did various activities like going into the Fifth Avenue marches against the war. And that was very early on. So there were hard hats who were standing on the side spitting on us. It was very early on in the anti-war movement. We had a small group in the high school in Port Washington who had a vigil every Monday against the war in front of the post office. I guess because that was the only federal institution that we could think of. We would stand outside, have a silent vigil against the war, and one Monday in January of 1967, it was so cold, there was 2 feet of snow on the ground, and we were so freezing. There were just a handful of us, and all at the end of the vigil, Peg came up in her station wagon, and she said, "Hop in, we'll go get hot chocolate." And we all just jumped into the station wagon, and I was in the back. I was sitting in the back of the station wagon on the flat part of it, and there was a newspaper on the floor of the station wagon that I had never seen anything like it before. And I looked and I said, "What is this, Peg?" She said, "I just got back from San Francisco, where I attended the Human Being, January 1967. And I'm now an archivist, and so this came from the archives. It's been in the archives 40 years, and it's going to go back for another 40 years. But I brought this to show everyone. This is the issue of the San Francisco Oracle from January 1967 that announces the Human Being, which was the first such event in the 60s. And so thank you, Peg, for introducing me to Randy Ashbury.
And I met Peggy, I guess people call her Peggy and Peg, in the 60s, right when she was making life changes as I was, leaving our husbands and joining the feminist movement and picketing, involved in the anti-war women's movement and civil rights movement. And Peggy and I traveled, together. I went to her places in Mexico, and we had a lot of adventures. She went to Juchitán with me looking for the matriarchy. When she was 85 years old, she went on the bus, and she's a trooper, really, Amazon warrior woman. And just recently, I run a shelter for battered women. Not recently, I started the first one in 1970 in my home. And I'm always fielding issues. People call me, there's this crisis, there's this struggle, and I go, here's the solution. I handle everything, most everything, and except bureaucracy, which I can't stand. But my daughter Maria, who lives in California, called me, and I could see something was wrong, and she told me that Peggy had died, and I started to cry. And I was in the office with, the people from the shelter, and they never saw me cry. And they said, "What happened?" They were all like, "What happened?" And I said, "My best friend died." And I didn't know that she was, I knew she was my friend, but I didn't realize she was my best friend until, when I said it, that happened. I really love Peggy very much. And it was really difficult to get out here, but I'm so glad that I did for many, many reasons. Just really briefly, one is that Pam, who is Peggy's daughter, who she and I became friends.
You were the most vital person I ever knew, given, what you could do as a human mortal. And I know you'd have done more, even if you could, and you will continue to do it now. And I know you'll be with us more now than you ever were, and you were always with us. So I just don't know. I'm so moved that so many people came, and I knew it was a kind of celebration she and I had once spoken about. We were just watching TV, watching a New Orleans Dirge on TV, and we're both going, we want to go out that way. No summer affairs for us, And the other really precious part of something like this happening is how it does bring family together. And Lily and Paige, who I hardly ever see, it's really nice to have you here. And Bruce, too, who I see a lot, but I don't know where he is. Bruce is here all the time, but I never see him. Anyway, thank you for being here and carrying on Mom's legacy here. And we're gonna continue to make this world a wonderful place. So, as you all will too, I'm sure. Okay, if anyone else wants to say anything.
My name is Willie. I'm the eldest of the three of us, the three kids. I came out to see my mother pretty much every year, on and off, and she would come visit me every year, on and off. She had a habit of following the sun, wherever it was warm. So she would come and let people, Buffalo's warm? In August. In August. She would always come in the month of August. There are quite a few pictures on the board here of her in my garden with me. I would follow her. She'd go to Mexico, she'd come out here. She'd go to Flower Island. She lived on Flower Island in a geodesic dome there for years. And so I followed her, and she followed me. But I've known her for 61 years, since the day I was born. And I can't say enough. It's hard to say anything, but I don't know what to do. I warned a few people in the crowd I wasn't going to be able to do this. But at least I'm really appreciative for all the people that are here. And I've met quite a few over the years. And I've heard about a lot of these names over the years, and here I'm meeting them for the first time. And I've also reconnected with people that I haven't seen in 40, 50 years.